why I have a lot of the homo, my niggas just do what you want, feeling like you team ready for the war. N16, young nigga go hard. But the nigga head, he dead, who lit, man, I'm a nigga quick, nigga, instant reflex. I'm ready for whatever, if you want it from the get it, I'm put it on my hood, I'ma ride from the city. Some nigga off in the ocean. Already soaking, already looking for a relative. When it turns to the murder game, flame, bang, a nigga like cannabis. You ain't fucking with it, you don't wanna fit it. 100 trips to get to it. When you fucking with the realest, I'ma break another record like get it. Nigga better get it before I kill it. My baby, I had a nigga feeling when I bought a bunch like it was fucked by the prison. Taking up the money like a widow with a gun in the black white stuff, and I call it free with it. Turned up my guy, oh really? Catch a nigga digging in the JC Penny. I sat here through JC Penny. I'm killing all of these killers. I'm killing all of these killers. I think I'm realer than real. I think I'm truer than true. I'm killing all of these killers. I'm serving all the drug dealers. I think I'm realer than real. I think I'm truer than true.
How rotten you look in the eyes of the world. You don't give a damn no more. You have lost your sense of shame. So you're no longer human beings. You've become a race of animals. I'm your brother, damn it. And I love you. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna stand by and watch you destroy yourself and our people and our future with your foolishness. And we're gonna put a stop to your foolishness. You're not gonna misrepresent us to the world for a damn dollar from your enemy. We're not gonna allow that to happen anymore. We'll snatch your behind off the stage and whip your ass.
There are people that want to destroy this country. They want to destroy America. They want America to be burned to the ground. I love our country. I love America, not because of what it's done for me, even though, of course, that's a great part, but what it does for people in general. People come to this country with nothing. People come to this country in debt. They fled their own home countries, and they can come to America and start with nothing and create a beautiful life for themselves and their family and their progeny. There's no other country on this planet that's ever been like this country. No other place. And so we have a beautiful and good thing here. I am not saying that America was not without its moral quagmires. My people, Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, those of us who can trace our heritage back to the plantations of North America, we were part of the original sin. How can a country whose ideals espouse freedom have a whole class of people enslaved solely because of their classification or race? That being said, as we are right now in 2025, you have people, you have agitators who want to destroy this country. You have people who are aggrieved and they're protesting, and I understand you may not like the laws of a certain place, and there's a political process in which you can have those laws changed. But as it is right now, it is illegal to enter into this country without permission. It is illegal to overstay your visa. It is illegal. And so we have law enforcement doing their jobs. Now, it's happening under the Donald Trump administration, but it also happened under George Bush. It happened under Bill Clinton. It happened under Barack Obama. And what we have to understand is those presidents, they deported millions and millions of people. As it is right now, 6 months into Donald Trump's presidency, he's only deported 100,000 people. So that means if we multiply that times 4 years, we're looking at less than 800,000 people. Barack Obama did that in his term, more so. So did Bill Clinton. So did George Bush. So we have to ask ourselves, what is it about this president that makes people who want to destroy this country become agitators? Again, I understand that there are people who are out there rightfully protesting. I get that. And I definitely understand that, from my history as a Black American, as a person who can trace their heritage back to the cotton fields of Mississippi, one generation removed, I understand protests. I understand civil unrest. I understand civil disobedience. But the question is, why is it at the point that we are now on the cusp of race riots? What is going on? Why is there so much discussion about race wars? And we have to understand that the people who want to destroy this country, do not want a vein of nationalism and American pride to rise. And whether you like Donald Trump or not, clearly he is a nationalist. Clearly he does not have, as a former Democrat who now has run as a Republican twice and been elected, or 3 times and been elected twice as president, this man is he is not tied to either one of these political parties. And so when you understand that and you begin to look at his politics, he's a nationalist. He puts America first. And I like that. But the problem with being America, having America put itself first and Americans put themselves first, and I'm talking about Americans of all ethnicities, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, Native American. When we start putting ourselves first, that interferes with the plans that the rest of the people in the world who consider themselves above the law and above any one nation, that puts them at odds with what we want. The last thing you want is for America to awaken and come together and become the global economic powerhouse that we are supposed to be, that is in our destiny. That's the last thing they want, because it interferes with power. Now the power is taken away from the people who have traditionally had money, power, and influence, and is put in the hands of a bunch of ruffians over here in North America who call themselves Americans. Basically the rebels who espouse freedom, who believe in self-defense, who believe in self-defense, a fighting group of people who've been fighting their entire short existence as a nation. Whether you black, white, Hispanic, or another, you understand that America is a fighting group of people. We fight each other, we fight outsiders, we make up reasons to fight. Even our sports, where we're talking about MMA or football, have to do with war, fighting, and violence. But this is why they always call us to come get them out of trouble. When I say they, I'm talking about the Europeans, the Asians, and pretty much anybody else in the world. But the thing is, what I need to talk to black people about is this. Don't go out there and get yourself involved in one of these protests. For the most part, black people have a seat. We're not, a matter of fact, we've had a whole stadium full of seats. We've sat this one out. And the reason we do this, because intuitive, we recognize, number one, that although this is a so-called fight for justice, even though I would disagree, because comparing our fight for justice, we weren't breaking the law. We were only asking for what we were entitled to, and that is citizenship, having been here for over 300 years, having built this country. And despite what people are telling you, America was not built by immigrants. It was built by settlers, and it was built by slave labor. Immigrants didn't show up until the country was already well on its way to being built, around about 1908 or so. But prior to that, this was a country of settlers and people who stayed here and fought and tamed the land and built a civilization, people who were forced to do labor for hundreds of years. This is how America was built. Everybody else showed up late after it was the surveys were completed, the plumbing was laid, the train tracks were in place. The innovation and the attitude and the mantra of this country was already well on its way before immigrants showed up to at best help maintain or help push forward the ideas that were already in place. But now, black folks, stay out of this fight. Because the minute your black body and the damage caused to your black body, whether it be through arrest or unalivement or horrible beatings, filmed and broadcast around the world, will become a catalyst for a race war. And the thing these people want to be able to do is point to that so that they can undermine Donald Trump's presidency and say, see, this is why you shouldn't be a nationalist. Look at what it brings. And I'm not talking, this is common sense. When black people start seeing other black people getting beaten and brutalized, they're going to choose sides. And they want you to choose sides against what Donald Trump is trying to do. And that is trying to make America a place that's great for Americans. What he's trying to do is get rid of some of the immigrants who are here taking from the system and not putting in the right way. He's trying to create an incentive for Americans to have hope again, for Americans to want to get back out there and work and have families and have children and build. You can't do that if the wages are being depressed. Since April of 2025, black men have gained 48,000 jobs. And this coincides with the deportation of a lot of illegal immigrants. So there's a direct correlation between black people's success and deporting illegal immigrants. And whether you like Donald Trump or not, you understand that people lie, but numbers don't lie. And so as far as what's good for black people having black men impaired, it makes only common sense that we would actually side with what Donald Trump is doing, even on this particular issue. Even if you don't like anything else he's doing, you don't like Doge, you don't like him, forcing peace in the Middle East. You don't like that. Okay, fine. You don't like him forcing Ukraine and Russia to come to the table and negotiate peace. Okay, fine. You don't like the fact that he's forcing India and Pakistan to either get it how they live. If you guys want to fight, fight. If you want to talk peace, we can talk peace. You don't like the fact that he forced the ceasefire in Gaza between the Hamas and Israel. Okay, fine. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you don't like the tariffs. The fact that he's making these countries who have been importing their products to our country, manufactured in their country, giving their citizens jobs. The fact, and when we send it, putting tariffs on their products, when we try to export things to their lands and their countries, they put 100% tariffs on ours. So basically, an American product sitting next to the shelf in China or India or somewhere in Europe is 10 times more expensive than their homegrown products. So guess what? That level of protectionism has never been addressed. Donald Trump is now addressing that and say, hey, we're going to have mutual tariffs. You charge us 100%, we're going to charge you 125%. You charge us 25%, we're going to charge you 50%. Now, if you want to negotiate, you want to talk about it, come on down to the White House and we'll have a conversation. I don't see anything wrong with that. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That's what's going on there. And as far as China, and as far as the China-Canadian, Mexican connection, clearly China is working with these Mexican cartels because that's where they're getting their chemicals from, so they can create some of these horrible drugs, fentanyl and methamphetamine, which is being dumped into on American soil and has thousands of Americans dying every year because of drug addiction. So Trump put a tariff on Mexico. Hey, you need to stop what's going on. And he did the same thing to Canada. You need to stop what's going on as far as the imports of these drugs. You're killing our people. I don't see anything wrong with that. But if you do, fine. But clearly, as far as black Americans, if 48,000 black men got jobs in April, when even black women lost jobs, so that lets you know it's not a racial thing. Okay, yeah, black women lost 300,000 jobs. A lot of those had to do with the DEI hires and the office work that many black women have done in the federal government. We all know that the government, federal government included, is the #1 employer of black women. Nevertheless, we can't say it's racial considering that black men gained 48,000 jobs. Nevertheless, let's throw all that aside, okay? Let's throw all that aside and recognize that what we see happening right now is there are some people who do not like the direction that Donald Trump is taking this country. They do not want Americans to be great. They don't want us to enjoy our lives. They don't want us to brag about what we have here because that idea of freedom might catch on around the world. And you can no longer exploit people who realize there's another direction. Now, as long as you have Americans running around with purple hair, little boys and little girls don't know what they are. You got folks who are pushing this sexual perversion on our children. You have an economy that's bad. You got a drug addicted population, who's fascinated with daytime talk shows and internet, and we're failing at math, we're failing at science. Then you know what? Nobody wants to be like America. And so that light on the shining hill that we represent begins to dim. And so you have to look beneath this. Black people, you will be the catalyst for a race war. A race war would be something that these people who want to see America fall can point to and say, see, Donald Trump is a failure. This whole nationalism, loving your country, loving where you stay, loving what it's done from you as far as America's concerned, is out the window. Oh, no way. You need to be more like Afghanistan. You need to be more like these people in Gaza. You need to be more like these folks. You know absolutely nothing about what's going on in these countries or their cultures. You know absolutely nothing about it. But what I don't see is millions of people wanting and desiring to immigrate to those countries. I do see millions of people wanting and desiring to immigrate legally or illegally to the United States. And we're already here. So I'm talking to my fellow Americans, and I'm specifically talking to my black Americans. Don't let your body, don't let yourself get caught up into something that could act as a catalyst to destroy what we have died and sacrificed for. I'm talking about the settlers, and I'm talking about the people who came here as imports. Okay, because we are definitely not immigrants. We are imports against our will, sold by our own people on the shores of Africa, brought over here as imports to work and labor and toil, which is what we did. We got the economy going. We built products. We built the early foundation and infrastructure. It was organized largely by Europeans. And even though Africans and black Americans had a lot to do with slavery, our hands are not clean. We own slaves too. Many will say, well, we just were buying our own relatives. No, we were participating in it just as deeply and heavily as white folks. Even though it was predominantly a white American thing, bottom line is we own slaves too. Nobody's hands are clean. That's like reaching back to the 1980s and blaming only white men and Hispanic men for the drugs that destroyed the black community, knowing darn well that black men and black women participated heavily in the drug trade in the 1980s and 90s when crack was an epidemic like meth is right now. So nobody's hands are clean. But here we are right now in 2025. Are we going to let these outside agitators cause for us to destroy our country? Are you going to take your black body out there knowing that black people have the moral high ground, which is why everybody wants black people to come out? You don't see the Latinos begging Asians to come on out here. We need the Asians to come out here and support us. We need the Indians to come out here and support us. Red Dot and Feather. We don't want all y'all to come out. They want black people because black people are the only group of people in this country that has the moral authority to dictate and drive the direction of justice. Whatever we determine justice to be, nobody else has the right to be here. Europeans have blood on their hand because they participated in a systematic slave system. A systematic system of racism where black people were denied housing. We were denied the right to work. We were denied education, things that we had fought for in every war, from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War to the War of 1812, Korea, Iraq 1, Iraq 2, World War 2, World War 1, Vietnam. We did that, Afghanistan. And so we earned our right by blood, bone, steel, and muscle. We helped forge the freedom that everybody benefits from. And so we had a right to fight for our freedom. And so when we step out on the playing field, people have to look at us and say, hey, look if the black people are on that side, we got to support it. And it just so happens that black people have weighed the odds and said, you know what? First of all, this is not our fight. And it's not our fight because we're ignoring justice. It's not our fight because our Latino comrades who often live in our neighborhood, they have been a suspect friend. It was their leaders back in the 1950s who, instead of fighting to be black or fighting to be brown, they fought to be white. They literally distanced themselves from black civil rights. They didn't like civil rights, whether we're talking about LULAC and their leaders. I forget the gentleman's name, but I think it starts with Felix. This man said, look, I don't think the Negro, and I'm paraphrasing, the Negro doesn't deserve the rights that Latinos have. We consider ourselves white. It wasn't until after 1965 in the civil rights movement that black people gained the right for minorities. That's when they decided, hey, you know what? We don't want to be white. We want to be brown. And that's when they became brown. More importantly, when we look into Latino culture right here in America, and I'm not even talking about in South America, Central America, and Mexico, Where in Mexico, they just recognized the black population in the recent 2000s. They've had black people down there, people who literally by the thousands ran to Mexico for freedom. They just now recognize them as Mexico. When we look at Argentina, they purposely tried to eradicate the black population. It's hidden. Even places like Brazil, full of Afro-Brazilians. You don't see them represented on magazines and television, even though they're there, or other public media. When we talk about Venezuela, there was a report that said that Venezuela is the most racist, anti-black country in Latin America. And so now when we get these people here, we look at what happened a couple years ago. You had a city councilman in Los Angeles refer to another councilman's adopted child as a monkey. And see, this is not just a one-off. This is part of their culture. They have something called mejor la raza, which literally means better the race. And I'm not talking about teaching your children math and reading. No, they literally want to breed white. They want their children, both sons and daughters, to interbreed with white Europeans, because in their mind, they want to try to escape their blackness and their indigenous heritage. This is the group. Mejor la raza, blanqueamiento, whitening the race. For decades in the Dominican Republic, they would open their arms to European refugees so that they can come in and intermix with their population, to the point you have large groups of Dominicans who can trace their heritage directly to Europe. And I'm not talking about from hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about granddaddy was a white man from Germany, or grandma was a Jewish white woman from Eastern Europe. This is what they did. So we understand their anti-blackness. So it is no surprise when they make their way and they set up enclaves in the black community, they begin to purposely try to exclude black men and black women from job opportunities, from educational systems. There was a time when the city of Compton was all black. And before that, it was all white, before blacks began to travel to the West Coast, fleeing Jim Crow in the South in the first and second wave of migration from the Deep South. But now it's all Hispanic, or the majority. And what do? They don't open their arms and let people in. They begin to try to exclude black people. They exclude black, their culture dictates to them to exclude black people. But now, after decades of this exclusion and this treachery, now you want black people to come out and put our bodies on the line and be cannon fodder for your fight. Why? Because largely what many Latinos believe is that we are their servants, because this is what they have in their countries. But see, this is America. This ain't Mexico. It damn sure ain't Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina. This is America. And in America, your social status is determined by who you are, how high you can rise, not merely your color. In fact, our ancestors fought a 100-year battle through Jim Crow to make sure that was the case, so that we could sit up here and we could do away with systematic racism that was oppressing not just black people, but all people of color. And so when you come here with your anti-blackness, black people are going to be specifically tuned to that. It's amazing to me that black American culture is so in everybody's face, but they seem to think it doesn't exist, especially to Caribbeans and Africans. When they come to this country, they will proudly tell you that black Americans don't have culture. It is so in your face, it is so pervasive, it is so omnipresent, you don't even recognize it. The first thing you need to understand about any culture is that it is designed so that a group of people can make it on and through to the next generation. This is what a culture does. And in this country, having been here since 1619, as enslaved people, partially, because the other thing you have to understand is that 2/3 of African Americans were enslaved, but there was always a 1/3 of African Americans who were free. And on top of that, we fought against it both physically through riots and protests since the first brother was brought here, and sister. Whether we talk about the Stoner Rebellion, whether you talk about the riots in New York, we've been fighting against slavery since we've been here. The Florida problem, where the blacks would team up with the Seminoles down in Florida and fought against the U.S. military for decades. until they had to march them out of there on the Trail of Tears and sent them to Oklahoma. We got to get y'all out of these doggone swamps. Y'all costing too much money and blood and treasure. It's an embarrassment. Abraham Lincoln had to deal with that problem. He referred to it as the Florida problem. It was so bad. Nevertheless, we fought. We fought against systematic racism. With our vote, with our fists, we fought against it. And so now when folks come to this country and think you are going to oppress black people, you got another thing coming. Now that might work in California. It might work in some of these places where black people fled to. But down here in Mississippi, in Louisiana, in Texas, Alabama, in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, it doesn't fly, because this is where we are. Now, the thing we have to understand, family, is that we are the moral compass of the United States. And when we set foot on the playing field, because of our history, people listen. But because of our history and how no matter what has happened to black Americans, we have always remained great citizens. We have always been the one to push this culture forward. We've always been the one to force America to live up to its ideals of freedom and prosperity for everybody. We have done that. And so when we put our black bodies out there, it means something different. On top of that, when we see our brothers and sisters out in the front line, we as black Americans say, hey, we have to defend them no matter what. We have to get on their side. There's merit to both sides of this argument. But what I'm telling you black folks, man, especially my foundational black Americans, don't allow yourselves to be the tools of anybody. We went years being manipulated by white liberals who used us to foist basically having us believe that they had the moral high ground, and come to find out they wanted our sons in dresses and our daughters with purple hair and hating motherhood. So much so that the birth rate is down. This is what they divided us with welfare, broke up the family, and told us it was a good thing. They removed a church from our schools. So now we have a bunch of ungodly children who worship materialism instead of the Most High. This is what the liberals did for us. And and still want us to believe, and it took us years to take the wool from over our eyes and see who they really were, a very group of immoral people. And now you have Latinos wanting to use us as cannon fodder and basically as bodies to protect them from the harm. And then you have people, the puppet masters, sitting back in the back saying, yeah, we can get those blacks out there. We can get a race war going. And on top of that, we can make Donald Trump's presidency look like a failure. Nobody should want any president of the United States to fail. No self-respecting American, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, I don't care if you're independent, nobody should want an American president to fail, because if he fails, our country loses standing in the world and we fail. We have a voting process. Every 4 years, we wait in line and we vote our interests. Every 2 years, we vote for Congress and we vote for local politicians and mayors and sheriffs and district attorneys. This is the power of the people. The people voted in 2024. They elected Donald Trump. The man won by majority. And this is very disappointing to the people who are puppet masters, because it means that the people are putting their own self-interest before the interest of everybody else around the world. And there's nothing wrong with Americans doing that. And Donald Trump represents a nationalist position that Americans are taking, something that many of our previous predecessors did not take. They thought other countries were more important than us. It was more important for George Bush to liberate Iraq and Afghanistan than focus on the roads and buildings that we have here in the United States that are crumbling. It was more important for Barack Obama to bring LGBT rights to Africa than to focus on the faltering military that we had, or the deteriorating infrastructure that we had, or bring the jobs back. They told us it would never happen. And somehow you got Donald Trump bringing jobs back. Now, they may not be the jobs that we once had, but he's bringing jobs back. He's bringing investment back to LA. He wants Detroit to look like Dubai. And I'm not mad at him for that. I'm not mad. He wants to bring the Rust Belt and get bring it back to what it was, a manufacturing hub of the world. And I'm not mad at him for that. And no self-respecting American should be. And I want you all to think about that, especially not just black Americans, but specifically black Americans. Recognize when you put yourself on that field, you are the only person, you black American people who endured slavery. I'm not talking about Caribbeans and Africans. You don't carry that weight. The difference between you and us is you can always go back to your home countries, the countries of your grandfathers, the country of your grandmother. Go back home, countries where your mothers and fathers immigrated from, the country where you immigrated from. You can go home. This is our home. And we didn't flee from our homes to somewhere else. We stayed here and fought. We fought, you fled. That's the difference between you and I. And even though we black, you're not black like me. Yes, I'm of African descent, but I ain't no African. I'm an American. And I'm proud of America, and I'm proud of my country. And I'm proud of what we do, and I'm proud of what we forged here in the wilderness. Absolutely. And anybody that stands in the face of America's success, then you don't deserve to be here. And the only way they're going to be able to pass judgment on whatever protest is going on is if black people set out there in droves and start standing up on one side or the other. And that's why it's best for us to sit this one out. And I want you all to think about that. Black Americans, don't be the catalyst for the downfall of America. Don't be the impetus for a race war by injecting yourself in a battle where neither side has been your best friend. I'm talking about Latinos or the American government. Let them deal with each other. It's time for you to relax, relate, release, chill out, have a good summer, and let's ride this thing on out. This is Uncle D. I love you guys. I'm out.